So we've seen young people be brave, be courageous. We've seen the ecocide protest not too far from here, where it was young people who drove it. We've also seen a young lady who, a very passionate environmental activist in the form of Bhagya, who just came out and said that what is happening is wrong. We need to be more conscious about conserving and preserving our environment. Now, these three ladies have done just that, disrupted the status quo. And before I go on to introducing them, I'd just like to say thank you very much to our sponsors who have made this entire festival what it is today. It was a one-of-a-kind, it is a one-of-a-kind festival. It was just sort of blossomed on a lunch date that Mahika and I had, and it just sort of snowballed. And all of a sudden, when Mahika went and told Tharu about this, she just jumped on board, and here we are on our fourth day and our final day of a festival that has never been done before for International Women's Day. And I would like to say a thank you to Cargills, again, who came on without any explanation. The moment they saw what it was about, said, yes, we will be the festival title sponsor. So thank you, Cargills, and thank you, Maljini, for always being there, for the support you have given us throughout. To UNFPA, our event sponsor, constantly there, always supportive, have been part of helping us with direction and panelists and things like that. So thank you very much, UNFPA. To Healing Island, our wellness partner, in your pouches, you would have found sanitizer wipes, which are extremely handy. Instead of having that little bottle in your bag, those things actually keep you nice and fresh and safe. And to our radio partners, Light 87, thank you very much. I saw Blessy here. I can't find her now. She's there. Thank you, Blessy. In fact, my son heard us, heard Light 87 today while he was in the car, and sends me a text saying, Ami, I just heard them talking about the festival. That's so great. So I said, yes, they've been doing this for the last 3 weeks, now on to our 4th week. So thank you very much, Blessy. To High Online, to Weekend Online, Daily Mirror Online, amazing support, and to all our other media partners. Thank you ever so much. This festival would not have been this successful if not for you. To Wine World, thank you very much. All the cocktails you will be having today, the Prosecco, the wines, everything comes from Wine World. Thank you very, very much. And don't forget, I did tell you that Tharu has disrupted the way we wine and dine in this country. So if you'd like to experience that today, well, you can stay on and you'll get a 10% off. That's a little surprise she had under her sleeve when we decided to start this off. So the cocktails you will be having today, later on, during the break and after our entire 2 sessions, is a Karapincha ginger beer. It's vodka with kissed ginger beer. That's kissed is from Cargills. And the mocktail is kissed absolute red apple, sage, and ginger. And these cocktails have been inspired by Tharu, of course, and crafted by Ben. Ben is not around, but thank you, Ben, for all the stuff you've been doing right throughout for the festival, where the cocktails and mocktails were concerned, and also our social media. So, off we go, saying thank you very much to our panelists. Randhula de Silva, who is on the corner to my right, is the founder CEO of Good Life Accelerator. She's a director of Hatchworks, of Trace Expert City, and the Sri Lanka chapter of the Global Entrepreneurship Network. Good Life Accelerator is about empowering startups and SMEs in sustainable sectors and disrupting the natural value chains to build smarter, stronger, and better brand portfolios for Sri Lanka. And this is where her passion lies. She is passionate about women in business, creating innovative spaces and advocating changes in topics related to innovation and entrepreneurship. Oh, and she's quite active in cinema too. Not only has she co-produced some short films, but she was also the executive producer of the feature film Avilena Suloi. And next to me is Achala Samaradiwakara. We've all been to Good Market, a novel concept that truly reflects what Achala is all about. She's the MD and co-founder of Good Market. that is to raise the country's strength to achieve sustainable development and reduce poverty while heading towards transformational changes and a real improvement in people's lives. She's been the National Program Coordinator at Seva Economic Development Company and Program Coordinator at Seva Lanka Foundation, while sitting on the National Steering Committee of the JEF and Small Grant Program of the UNDP, and also a council member of the Startup Council of the Chamber of Commerce. Her multiple awards speak for her passion: Woman Social Entrepreneur of the Year 2017 by the Zonta Club of Colombo, and the Young Woman Entrepreneur of the Year 2017 by the Women's Chamber of Industry and Commerce are just two. And then we have next to me Himali de Silva, who is the co-founder and COO of COLLAB and also the founder of APE. She has worked with a number of global brands across the UK, USA, and Asia, and she decided it was time to make a change. APE was founded to raise awareness, promote, and lead the creation of a pre-loved ecosystem in Sri Lanka, and COLLAB to create brands that would actually walk the talk. So welcome, ladies. Let me ask you first, did you have, all three of you, but I'll start with Randhula, did you have an aha moment when you thought, okay, this, I've just had enough, let me get on with it and change this?
Pleasure to be here, firstly, and thank you for having me. I think it was a series of aha moments. I'm never somebody that when I see something that needs change, that is unsettling to me, I wouldn't just sit with it or let it sit. And there was a series of such very many things from the day I started my adult life at work to now that I've seen that could be better. And I think it's all of those nodes tied in together that create a GoodlifeX. All these experiences of working with SMEs, working with entrepreneurs, working with innovators, working with amazing potential that Sri Lanka has, and yet how little we tap into these. So all this in combination were a series of ahas that really got me here.
Yeah, actually, as she said, before the Good Market, I worked with so many NGOs. So then, when even myself and Amanda, my other co-founder, we both actually into NGO sector, and we saw there are so many, through the project, there are so many, the livelihood development activities going on. They are giving machineries, they are giving technical supports, but end of the day, once the project finish, the hopes finish, and then the villagers are, end of the day, they are staying in the village without proper markets. So then we were thinking like, can't we develop a kind of like a market linkages to connect these small scale people to a maybe a larger maybe supermarkets? But then when we go and talk to them, we realize it is not really easy thing to do, because maybe sometimes communities are not really ready to supply to a proper supply chain. So then we were thinking like what to do. Then the kind of like aha moment came, and we thought like, okay, why we can't start maybe something to connect these small scale people to a good kind of like a conscious people in maybe somewhere in Colombo. So then initially we thought we're going to start a polar, but not really a polar. Polar kind of like not really what we think, and then maybe an exhibition. But that's also we were like not really exhibition, in between somewhere. Something to give really good experience to people and to try things out, and also for the communities when they come from maybe Anuradhapura to Colombo, to make them more happy and comfortable in this space. That's a kind of like a space we wanted to create. So that's where we started.
And Himali?
So I don't think mine was an individual aha moment. For APE, it was actually with my friends when we realized that we have so much clothes and accessories, and what do we do with it? Where for COLLAB, it was with me and my business partner who's sitting here, Alison, where we realized that for other brands, like a lot of business owners have so much on their plate. They don't have the time to figure out how the algorithm's changing, how social media is changing, which platform is coming, what's trending. So we were like, why don't we help other business owners? Especially because during COVID, what our thinking is that either we all help each other to survive the next year or two, or we're all going to fail. So it wasn't an individual aha moment, it was a collective aha moment that led to both the startups.
Himali, just let me ask you about APE. Sri Lankans in general, their inherent feelings are that they want to own things all the time, whether it's house and property, whether it's material things. But we want to own stuff. So how are you going to change that mindset with Ape, where people will actually buy into that pre-loved concept?
So Savitri, it's actually interesting. We like to own things, but we are also a very, very charitable nation. If you really think about it, Sri Lankans are very giving, we're very kind. And that's one of the premises I started Ape on. I have a floor of every item, the minimum price is 3,000, because I didn't want to take away from what we give to the less fortunate. Because we are all, if you really think about it, we are always helping someone. We'll give the beggar on the road, or we are giving our domestics. We assume we're not giving if you look on it on just the top layer. But actually our culture is, I mean, I always explain Ape as a concept to anyone. If you've been born in Southeast Asia, you have been wearing hand-me-downs from your sister, your brother, your cousin, your friend, your whole life. So it's really not a new concept. It's just putting it into, like, it's like unpacking something into terminology that we can all relate to. I think the words pre-loved and vintage and thrift, people don't, it doesn't resonate. But when you actually say, hey, it's like wearing your sister's clothes, it's just been washed, and you bought it, everybody gets it. So for me, it's actually, I'm just drawing out something that's inherently in our culture.
And Achala, you work in the field a lot. What are the characteristics of these women who have their own little businesses going? What do you think makes them those strong women that actually makes you get them on board and do stuff with them?
Yeah, actually, even let me, before I go to women's, I'll just talk about like, now everybody is feeling like new current economic system is not really going to be work. We are facing so much of environmental and economical, political issues. So then the same time we were like thirsty to find a new ways of doing businesses, new way of changing things, And then the same time when we go to village, still they are in that mindset. When we were living in Colombo, we really think we are the one who creating things, but not really that, because when I'm talking to these villages, still they like, when they are making something, when I'm asking them to how are you going to pack it, they're always coming up with really nice creative ideas. They always tell me like, Miss, make a kadu note, bindu note, I have a responsibility, And at the same time they talk me like, when I'm making a plastic wrap, it won't give kind of like responsibility because they will throw it out, That's how they think. They wanted to change the whole system, but they don't know how to do it. That's the kind of like a thing. But anyway, like overall women's, when we talk about like business women's, because in all generations we know all the businesses are dominated by men's to some extent. But when it's come to women's, they're always trying to share each other. They always talk each other. Because they never copy somebody else's things. They wanted to do something new and filling the ecosystem gaps. They're always coming up with creative ideas, and they are, trying to create a better world and better economy, because they are mothers end of the day. They have a responsibility about their future generation, and then the end of the day, mother planet,
Randhula, do you actually feel that culture is prevalent everywhere, even in the space you work in?
Absolutely, 100%. I don't like to see things in a gender lens, but I think the femininity and the masculinity in a business world, in the way we lead, it's apparent. We can't ignore it. And there's been enough and more instances where the collaborative nature, the transparent way of working has really helped when there is a woman in the room. Women are changing how decisions are being made in boardrooms, and how we look at growing the pie and not really splitting the pie. So I think that shift of mindset, or that paradigm shift, really is now apparent more than ever before, because there's a lot of women who are being heard and are stepping up to really change the game. And also I've worked with many amazing men who have embraced such traits into them also, who are a lot more collaborative, who are not gatekeepers, who are very, very transparent and open in the way they work. And this is really what didn't happen. I think if you take a look back, my parents' generations or even before, we are such a small country, it's such a small community, the business community is even smaller, but how many of us really work together to embrace many of the golden opportunities that Sri Lanka got? And how many such golden opportunities have we missed? How many times did we miss the bus? So I think our generation is here to change that for better. And men and women alike, we are really trying to change the game by working together towards thriving together. And that's why I think more and more movements like Good Market Ape comes forth to make that shift.
Can I add small thing? Because now since Randhula is talking about, because now, there are old generations, some kind of like a businesses, they're always trying to keep their information hide, intellectual properties, But I think what we are trying to make more transparent, giving information out, nothing to hide for us, because everything is open, we want to share. We want everybody to look at. We want everyone to not to reinvent again what we have done. They can do something again new. That's kind of like a new thing. Especially women are very, very good to do that, but especially men are there always to support us.
So the word I'd use for this is disrupting our silos of excellence.
Himali, do you feel the same way?
So
that your generation is there, that you're the one, your generation is the one that's actually disrupting the status quo?
To be honest, I actually think it was the generation before, because if I look at my mother and all my aunts and all, so I agree with Randhula a bit about this separation of gender. I feel that that's kind of where the root problem comes from, the fact that we separate ourselves in that form. I was brought up by a father and mother also who was like, you can do anything and everything you want to do. I'm very against this term boss babe or she, or because I don't really see the difference. I can do anything that anyone can, and there's no difference. But in the startup space, I do feel that women do have a little bit, and that could be cultural. We're a little bit more nurturing because we're put into the wife, mother, housekeeper role. So therefore, it's like watering a plant, right, or taking care of a plant. A woman, it just has that more nurturing quality. So for a startup, it's basically, it's not a sprint, it's a race. It's a marathon. So maybe having a female element does help in the startup space. I will say that. But I don't think it's our generation. I think the generation before us paved the way for us, and now we're really pushing that extra mile. I think people like you paved it for us.
Thank you. Let me put those collars up for a while. Randhula, do you feel the same way? Do you feel that there have been those who have actually paved the way and that you are now tasked with the execution of it?
I think so. I would really agree with Himali. And Savitri, I think I told you the same, what Himali just told me. You've inspired me so much when I was growing up. And I think that's very true. The way I was brought up, I was an only child. I went to a Sinhalese Buddhist girls-only school. So, I mean, you can imagine the amount of extreme protection that I got growing up in this society as a girl child. But still, my parents and my teachers definitely did plant that seed of individuality in me, to just, go out there and be independent, to question and not to be afraid. And those, if I didn't have those traits planted in me, I don't think I'd be what I am today. And I don't think that's a singular act of just who I was brought up with, but also everybody that I chose to get mentored by, all the people that I aspired to look up to, and all the things that I heard growing up. So there's always two things, right? Especially in a small community like ours, there's the propaganda that always tells you can't. I mean, me as a leader, I wouldn't say me as a woman leader, but me as a leader, I get it even today. Nobody has done this before. Who says you're suitable? You can't. Of course you can't. This is not going to work. Majority of the time, that's what I hear. But also, on the other hand, there's a lot of people who wants to cheer for you, who gets excited about seeing opportunity in barren land. So you get both sides from day one, but it's also about who you choose to ally with, who you choose to listen to, and who you choose to hold hands with in your journey. So I think in that sense, I've been privileged to have such choices to listen to get inspired by. And even today, I think people like that are what really helps us do this beyond the dreaming, to really be actually doers. People like that in this society helps a lot.
Savitri, if I might just add to that. I mean, I've told you this anecdote. When I was growing up, my father used to make me watch her shows. And so when you reached out to me, I was like, oh my God, fangirl moment. But also, based on what Randhula said, I think especially in the beginning of a startup, when you are testing the ideas, it's try quick, fail fast. You have to choose very, very wisely which opinions you listen to, because everyone has an opinion. And everyone will tell you, you can do this, you can do that, you can do that. But most of the time, it's coming from people who haven't done it. So you have to pick very wisely who you choose as your ecosystem as advisors. And who is just, for me, for any idea I have, I will run it past like 4 or 5 people, but those are trusted 4 or 5 people. So I think you have to protect your energy and your space, especially during the first probably 6 months of a startup, till you figure out your own rhythm and your own pace.
Achala, your work, again, can I go to the rural environs that you work with? There is a there are cultural barriers that you will have to break. What are those, and how do you break that when it comes to women actually taking on the lead and going forward with the business?
Actually, rather than a cultural barriers, they have kind of like a fear to come out, and even they always think about like, I have a family to prioritize. I have to take care, them and then my husband's. That's the kind of like a thing, because now women's, otherwise because even like today, I was from Himali to Colombo. I worked with Muslim, Tamil, Sinhala women. They were together. Even sometimes they cannot speak Tamil, maybe one and other one cannot understand Tamil. So then that's the kind of like environment there. But still, they talk like this. They were like, maybe break words. Still they talk. They were working each other, because I saw one lady making a basket to pack the maybe some of the other eggs or maybe vegetables. That's kind of like a collaboration is there. But the only thing what I realized is to give them kind of like a small courage, small push. And then what is the roadmap for them to go? Maybe step by step, not kind of like a pushing or maybe telling them a big dream, so promising things. Just tell them that there's an opportunity, still you can be at home, you can do things around with you, but still there's an opportunity for you to do. So then sometimes through Good Market, what we really trying to do is maybe, even though they're making their small stuff at the village, but maybe buy a bus or maybe buy a train. They're sending their products to Colombo, and we have a tuk-tuk person to go and pick up them, and behalf of them, we have a university student to sell their products and give money back. That's the kind of like a working environment we are trying to create, because they were not there, because maybe barriers are not really matter for them, but they were not really think about these things, but they wanted to do somehow things, because their poverty is really high. I'm talking about really poor, marginalized people. So because they always think like, I know husband is doing something, but still I have to somehow help to my family. I have to feed my children. I have to give them a proper future, not like us. That's what they talk about. So then if we can really understand them, if we can give some kind of like wings for them to, fly, they are superpowered.
Randhula, when you work with, one of your areas is actually disrupting the natural supply chains that have already sort of been cemented. How do you do that? And how do you change the mindset? What are the challenges you come up with actually?
I think it's a really big thing to conceptualize. When you say natural value chains, it's a massive value chain. But again, why are we trying to disrupt it? Because Sri Lanka has so much of luscious natural resources, from the air that we breathe to the foods that we all like to eat. But are they really actualized to their fullest potential, and are we really giving out to the world what we have? I don't think so. From the time of us coming out of the colonial era to now, we are really pretty much stuck where we were when it comes to the produce that we send out from the teas to the rice to the spices. But how can we really keep up with how the world that's changing, with entrepreneurs out there, or rather the consumers out there, asking for more and more transparent products, better products, sustainable products, regenerative products? These are all things that we have inherently had in our cultures. Our parents, our grandparents have it in their lifestyle to be more sustainable. But is this what we produce? Are we actualizing the potential that we have in the cusp of our hands? No, we are not. So I think Good Market is doing such amazing work on the ground level, and what we are trying to do with GoodlifeX is to create a platform to take them out. So the challenge really is, so we work with SMEs as well as startups. With SMEs, I think challenges are different as opposed to startups. SMEs, they've been in this business for a long time, 15, 20, 25 years, been fighting the good fight, seen the war, seen so many things, and have established systems and ways and have settled for it. Changing that, changing what they've settled for, and telling an entrepreneur who's twice as old as me, or even more, to change is a lot. But it's also fun, because all these people, they do understand. They're intelligent people, and they're doers. They've done so much to this country. And they do understand that if they don't embrace this change, they're going to drown. So firstly, how do you really get them to understand? How do you digitize? How do you take step by step? So I've worked with a company, an amazing company, who's doing regenerative coconut-based products that's exporting to US markets, who've been building their website for 3 years. And it was really about time that they just, got it out without waiting for perfection. And that change of mindset is a tough one, especially when you're working with a seasoned entrepreneur. So now, after going through our program, they just published our website last week, and that was a big win for us. In terms of startups, it's a different story. They're coming into a space that's not easy. To be a tech entrepreneur, to build software, I'm not saying that's easy, but it's easier. Because you're not working with factory workers, you're not working with farmers, you're not fighting the weather. A lot of things are controlled within your software, and your knowledge, and your gut and grit. But there's a lot of other things at play when you're working with an entire ecosystem and an environment, an economy like ours, and in comes an entrepreneur who's trying to do a agriculture or ag tech startup. And there, the stuff that they have to deal with, from bureaucracy to regulatory barriers to being a small scale player who's going to get played out by the big world out there, who's competing at a very different place. Two different ball games. So I think access to knowledge there, ability for them to really experiment and grow and to not kill their daring spirit, that requires a different treatment altogether. So I think working with both of these sectors, it's very interesting. And what I love most is to have both of these type of people in the same room and see how beautifully they collaborate and synergize. I have a 77-year-old godfather in the coconut sector who's now excited to be working with a young entrepreneur, a young startup who's working on coconut fiber. And looking at how they interact and communicate, I think is a massive thing to see.
So actually what even I was thinking, now we have to understand the real big picture here, because now we know. Even very recently, I read the 2021 World Economical Forum, the part they have published. They said the biggest challenge where the world is facing now is climate change. Because even not really like these kind of like a corona or whatever the pandemics, but the really issue is, what they said, the first thing is the climate change. And people like us, small country, we are still developing country, We are still talk about we have to develop our own economy, we want to get the startups to come out, maybe all SMEs come out, but still when it's come to figures, I mean, still we are not really, taking into the account. So then we have now, it should be a national kind of like an initiative, national need to get down a lot of entrepreneurs to do works, around. So then, but sometimes maybe we think entrepreneurship may be something else, maybe buying and selling or something else. But now we have to think about how we can create a better economy. What the country needs, because Sri Lanka is very sustainable country, small island. When we make something, we are doing the best things. We have organic farming, ecotourism. There are so many things out there. We have to really polish up and take things out. So that's why I think we are really trying to change the system where we can really find solution to the root cause. When people are talking about cutting trees, then we have to think about as individuals how we can change our maybe buying pattern, our daily choices, our daily eatings, So these are the small things we have to think about. From that, we have to really try to create maybe business opportunities for others to, come and change the whole economic system, which is good for people and planet.
Absolutely. Any questions from the audience? Anyone who'd like to ask a question? Right, so until someone thinks of a question, Himali, looking at what you do, both APE and COLLAB, what are the challenges you have actually come across when you, especially when dealing with an ecosystem that has multiple generations, let's say, and a mindset that sometimes may not be willing to change?
So I think the challenges are very different for both the sectors. So for APE, it was actually explaining it to people in terms they could understand was one. Because see, Colombo is a beautiful, unique creature of its own. It is not like any other city in the world. I've lived in Singapore, I've lived in London, lived in Chicago. Our community is a community within itself. So you really have to bring in a community feeling for whatever you do. And as I said, we are a charitable nation and people, so you have to bring those elements in. Basically, you have to, if you want to normalize a concept which is disruptive, you have to make it sexy and cool. That's the reality of it. And there are different ways to do it. So, I mean, I had Nadia G's closet, Marsha Kumaratunga's closet. You have to put real people behind a brand for people to identify with it. To go, oh, if she's doing it, that means it must be cool. But, so it's actually stepping back and putting yourself in your own shoes and going, what would make me adopt something? Because I remember when I first started talking about it, people who told me they will never, ever buy someone else's thing are the first to message me now. So for me, that's the biggest success. It's not about how many sales, it's how many minds have I changed. How many people have I convinced that it's okay? But that's the thing. I had to be I wouldn't use the word innovative, but I had to actually think about resonating with people. What matters to people? Like, APE is anonymous. So whoever buys or sells, only I know. And that's very important to people because people on different steps of their conscious consumer journey. So you have to relate to that and understand and appreciate that. I never ever ask someone to repost anything. I never ask them to tag because that's a consumer's choice. For COLLAB, it's different because, see, there are a lot of players in this field, but what we noticed was the gap was, so there are social media companies and then there's COLLAB is what I say. A lot of social media companies will take someone, create some static posts, charge them an amount to post it. But that's not really where we felt the gap was, and where we came in is we're actually talking about a brand as a person. Let's bring your brand to life. Let's give it a personality, let's give it a tone of voice. Let's build a community around your brand, because when you have a community around your brand, you get automatic advocates of your brand. So for us, it's about actually working with business owners to talk about their branding, their social media strategy, and then create the content in alignment with that, not just make some static posts and share. So I think the hardest thing for us has been actually explaining to people that we're not just giving you what you think other companies will give you. We're actually your business partner who's holding your hand through the process, saying, where do you want to go? Let's get you there, and this is how we're going to do it.
So it's a tangible journey. Yeah. Randhula, for Good Life Accelerator, how do you get again, you mentioned the 70-year-old entrepreneur working with a very young person. But similarly, you must be having challenges of changing a generational mindset. How do you work on that?
I think the beauty about GoodlifeX and the people we attract is that they might be representing different generations or spaces in our society or industries, but everybody's led with their heart and soul towards one purpose. And that makes this very easy for us. Everything else is just details. Because everybody who gets attracted to work with us, we have preconditions. They have to be in a sustainable business or willing to convert into a sustainable business in order to work with us. And there itself, they have identified, okay, something we are doing is not right, or we are doing the right thing, but we don't know how to grow. And that really is a big gap that we identified. There are lots of people who are doing extremely innovative and sustainable businesses that not only really benefits themselves as a business, but also their employees and the end consumer. But sometimes, and most of the time, these purpose-led or good-led entrepreneurs don't know how to bring that message out, or don't know how to really tie it in together into the world trends that are evolving now to gain the best benefits out of it. So those are a few things that we try to kind of resolve and work towards. Most of the things, I mean, challenges from one to the other are very, very different. It depends on the stage of the business they are in and where they really want to go. Some people, even though they have such a thriving business, they don't want to grow further. Scale is not necessary because they're happy with the community that they have created, the village that they are sustaining, and they don't want to push beyond because what they have created, that ship, is enough. And I think you need to wear a very different lens to appreciate it and to embrace it and help them sustain it so that they can survive in the longer run and perhaps even grow later or grow into something different. So the challenge also is working with different experts who have done work before in a very different mindset, who have to now convert into being empathetic about entrepreneurs like this, who understand where they're coming from and won't push them to fit into a box. And that, I think, is something really challenging because it's not only changing or working with the mindsets of the entrepreneurs, but also the experts that you're working with who give us market access maybe, who give us potential clients maybe. They are very used to driving these entrepreneurs, you know, in a very linear path. This, and this. There's no way for you if you don't follow this. Story over. That's not it. We have to really embrace thinking laterally, inside out. And I think when we begin our programs, a lot of people come in as disbelievers. I mean, what are you trying to do with me? And they leave saying, is this it? Can't we stay with you for 5 more months at least? So it's in the way we work, it's how we communicate, it's how we bring in value from every single thing you do. It's not just working on a business development strategy, it is how you treat another person, it's what you value, and it's what you communicate.
Last chance question, anyone? Let's see. Can we have the mic, please?
Hi, ladies. And this question is for all of you. Obviously, all of you, you make it look so easy doing what you're doing, especially hearing you talk, you know, it sounds really good. But what are some of the toughest challenges, or what is the hardest lesson that you've each had to learn on the journey? I mean, you're young, you're optimistic, you guys are already doing big things, and just being in the audience, you know, it's just like, wow, you know, you guys are there, you're doing it, you're disrupting. But, and I'm not going to say as women, but what has the hardest lesson been that you've learned that perhaps we can learn from too?
Okay. As a woman, though, this is something I experienced, I think, throughout last year. And this comes from a place where my style of leadership being empathetic, collaborative, I ask from the room. I'm not, you know, a dominating leader where I'm only speaking. The team gets to play a big role in driving the work, and they get to take ownership and do it. And that's what enables us to do so much, honestly, and do it so well. Because if I am to do something on my own, I don't think I'll be doing half the things I'm doing. But that comes with a lot of trust, but also on the other hand, a lot of different ways of working as a team and contributing together. When things become extremely uncertain, a lot of people, especially younger people, I work with a lot of young people, and a lot of people are essentially driven to become safe and very linear. When things around you are extremely uncertain, you don't want to rock the boat too much. You don't want to hold tight. That's all you want to do. But that's not how things work in our team. All of us are disruptors and very innovative in the way that we work. And my hard-heard lesson was that not everybody's ready to be that and become that, and when situation around you changes, some people change too, and some don't thrive in crises as many as others do. And because I'm empathetic and I believe in my team so much and I see their potential, I think it took about 8-9 months where I beat myself up so much for this person struggling and therefore our team struggling, and I took internalized the whole thing onto myself. It was very difficult. And I don't think if it was somebody else, for instance, a mature man in my seat, it wouldn't have mattered. You know, the guy would be fired and on you go. It's just another space to fill. But that's not the case for me. You want to onboard everybody, especially if you see so much talent. But sometimes you just have to give it a rest, let it go, or change your perspective and position about that situation, and let him or her settle and move on in a different direction. And you can't solve everything and, you know, have cohesive harmony just like switching on a switch. So that was a hard-heard lesson during COVID. Achala?
Yeah. Actually, talking about challenges, it's like whole day we can talk. Because, you know, always when you are trying to create something new, it's always challenging. Because Good Market, we started as a non-profit social enterprise because we told no need donor funds. We're going to earn and we're going to reinvest for the good mission. So creating a self-financing a business model is very hard. You know, you have to believe me because I never, or myself, Amanda, we never had a business experience. We don't know how to earn money. That's a kind of like a situation. So then we slowly, every 1 rupee is really valuing us. We saved, we planned, all our unnecessary expenses we cut down. No need. We are planning it. We actually, the one thing actually making it more self-finance is very challengeable. You have to have very good mindset to plan. So that's the first challenge we were trying to overcome. Still we are there. We are, you know, trying to make us more self-finance. That's why we are moving into different directions. And then to make people believe, because when we create a Good Market, it's just not Amanda or myself. It's a people, it's a community, it's a bigger movement. We are working with so many small-scale people. They always believed us. They always coming because we never give them money. We never we are not giving hopes to them. We only like tell them like, hey, there's an opportunity. Why don't you come and try? That's what kind of like a thing we always give them. So sometimes Saturday mornings when we are planning a Good Market, every Saturday, if the weather is like darker, I'm like, oh my God, going to rain. That's the kind of like a mentality still we get. You know, we have a responsibility. We know people are believing us. We have to do somehow. That's the kind of like a thing. And then the third thing, actually, my family, you know. As a woman, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a, you know, wife, and at the same time, my team. Because they believed us. So then I have to really thank to my family because without them, I don't think I can do. Because I know my husband is very busy, but at the same time, he's the one who takes care of my daughter. Sometimes he's the one who drives me and then is sitting somewhere corner and watching me. You know, that's kind of like, that's like life. The main thing what I do always, I plan and then they're trying to manage everything with a very good team. That's what I do basically.
And Himali?
So I have an attitude where I like to look at challenges as learning opportunities. And I'm pretty sure everyone goes through this, but the trajectory was very, very fast. It's only been like 8 or 9 months and COLLAB is 2 months. And I mean, we haven't been able to breathe at how fast it's taken off. But I mean, the harshest thing I learned, challenge, or let's say learning opportunity was some of the people I thought who would support me didn't. But then I had a lot of pleasant surprises for people I didn't know, like Randhula herself, who not only supported, went out of their way to bring my brand to life, to help in any way they can. So for me, it's just, I mean, obviously I'm a human being and you get hurt and you're disappointed. And it probably happened a lot faster for me because it happens so quickly that you're suddenly like, oh wait, hold on, you were meant to support me, you were meant to support me, why are you not? But then you can't get caught up in that because it's moving so fast. You have to keep your focus and just keep your head down and get what needs to be done.
So as a final question, ladies, very briefly tell me, young people, we've all been through very transformative and challenging times. So what would you say to young people who are still grappling with those transformations, and things are definitely not going to be stable as we would know it? It will be fluid. What do you say to young people who want to disrupt but hold themselves back?
Be fearless. Honestly, there's everything you define for yourself. No one else should. Get up and try, and if it fails, you get up the next day and you try again. That's the whole point of life.
And Achala?
So actually, what I see always Sri Lankan, I mean, when it's come to my country, we had to talk about us first because we had to develop our economy, because now we are the generation, you know, we have to stand and we have to develop this country, because I don't think I wanted to tell my daughter saying that, hey, this is a developing country. I don't want to say that. Because we have to at least start to change this, because if we are not changing, then who's going to change it? Because as a young people, I think it's now stopping. We don't need much, you know, spending time with technologies. Come out, no? And you can actually do things, because there are so many opportunities around us. Try things. It's okay. You can fail things. You know, even I remember, because we had so many, you know, failures, but still we fixed them, learning by doing. So it's okay. Come out. Let's work together to make our country a better economical country, and in a better country to people to proudly say it's a Sri Lanka. It's a very good country. It's own kind of like our own, you know, country, like not like a Singapore. It's a Sri Lanka.
And Randhula?
Somebody who wants to disrupt but are holding themselves back, I think you don't know what you're missing out. And the trick in all of it is to just go ahead and do it. And the more you fail, the better you'll feel. And it really is about how you receive your own failures and how you get back up. And believe it or not, people resonate, respect, and relate to people who fail and keep trying and become better and add value. And that's what good life is all about, right? All of us are here to live a good and happy life and to create value. So if you're just going to, you know, remain where you are in that seat until the day you die, that's really sad. Not for us, but for yourself. So just get up and just go ahead and do it. It's only you who's stopping yourself.
Thank you, ladies. A perfect way to end our first session on our final day with that kind of thought, all three of you. Achala, who says, we have to do this for our country. If we don't do it, who's going to do it? And both of you, be fearless, get out there and do what you have to do. So thank you, Himali, thank you, Randhula, and thank you, Achala.